Thank you so much. I won't stop hiding behind the panel, so I will step here. You can see me. And you can also see my first slide. Thank you, Jonathan, for the introduction. I'm a bit unsure what I still have to tell now that you told already almost everything. But we'll try to still have something for you. So the talk title is Backstage at Shpock's Backend. I trained a week to spell that, to pronounce that properly, because it's a bit difficult. And I'm very happy to be here tonight, yes, at noon. All right, so this is my Hello World, my first talk for such a big audience, so please be patient with me if I get lost a bit. But my name is Stefan, as Jonathan already said, and I'm the CTO at Shpock. The next 20 minutes, I would like to give you an overview about what Shpock is. This will be pretty short. What we achieved so far, and then later also how our architecture looks like, and what services we run behind the scenes. So you know the app maybe, but there's so many things that we do behind that. And as this is also about scaling, I will also try to tell you how we scaled in the recent 6 years and what we found important in that journey. All right. So basically, Shpock is a mobile app, a second-hand market app. So you can grab your phone after you downloaded Shpock, of course. Then you you take a picture, put the title, put a short description and the price, and off you go. This allows people to discover your ads, your items, start making offers on them, asking questions. And if you find an arrangement on the price, if you settled on that, you quickly chat on how to exchange, and you're done with your deal. That is not the next slide. All right. So, we are active in 6 countries, so it's not only Austria, although the company is based in Austria. We started 2012 on the Austrian market. In the Austrian market, in 2013 we expanded to Germany. This was a quite exciting time because there have been so many things happening at the same time, and we were still a small team that was built up quickly, and we realized that we have to keep on with the innovation to be successful in further markets. 2014, we entered the UK. We expanded to the UK, one of our biggest markets right now. And 2015, we did enter in Italy, Norway, and Sweden at once. That's quite interesting because we learned that the markets are quite different. Not only because the users are different, but also in regards of marketing and the features that we developed for them. All right. So this allowed us to reach a 50 million level of downloads in our app. Well, this can also be generated artificially. Therefore, it's another number that's important. We are happy to see usually 10 million active users every month, and we are very happy to see them happy with us. All right, so this is all great, I think, but now let's get a bit deeper into the Shpock backend. But I hope you now understand a bit what this is all about. The role of the backend in Shpock is obvious for me, but I'll tell you. We are highly involved in many areas of the company, so it's not only doing the API for the apps. We not only serve data for our user-facing products, like also the website, but also we provide tools for the marketing team, for our support team, for business intelligence and business development. So I would not say they highly depend on us, but I would say they highly integrate with us and receive data from us. And since I joined this adventure from the early start, actually I joined the company 3 months before we started with Shpock. I'm so proud that I would like to share this all with you. So let's look a bit on the architecture. We were always focusing on simplicity. So you won't find anything totally weird here. You see there is a load balancer level at the beginning. You can assume that all of this is, of course, redundant and failover, configured for failover. So there's the load balancers, then we have a big OpenShift environment that allows us to spin up services pretty quickly, like the API, like the website. Of course, also our staging environment, where mostly our web developers are playing around. We use that also to receive user event data and for many other things. And also connected to that, we have services that allow us to connect to the underlying database. So we heavily use MongoDB, Elastic we have been using since 2014. And of course, there's a caching layer with Memcache and Redis deployed. So we are very adjustable in the area of OpenShift and all the deployments of the services. At the same time, we developed an expertise in dealing with MongoDB and Elasticsearch. So I remember all these discussions about should you use Elasticsearch or should you use MongoDB. I think the best solution is to use both and to find the advantages of each. All right. So as I already mentioned, the backend is not only what you would think first, the API to our apps and clients. We also run a message queue with around 430 million messages per week. The 700 million requests per week Jonathan already mentioned. For the marketing team, we developed our own CRM tool, which is configured to run at the moment 1.5K different campaigns. You can imagine this is not only about push notifications, this is also about email campaigns. We are able to advertise our own features in the app. So if you open the app, maybe after this talk, you will find those nice action items. And the marketing team is in full control on this. So they don't need a developer to do anything. They have complete control over that. 1 year ago, we also introduced a service called Pusher, which is a Node.js service that is not doing anything else other than receiving push notification requests and passing them on to Google or Apple. And per week, we are processing around 200 million messages. So this is like the things that our backend team is basically taking care of. Right next to our backend team, there is IT operations, which let us do all this. They are running an infrastructure and maintaining this infrastructure of more than 600 servers. And they are 4 people, so they are really optimized for efficiency. Every day we receive 300 million events from inside the app. This allows us to track the performance of features that we introduce. And the overall traffic, and then I'm almost done with all these numbers that nobody can actually realize. The traffic that we produce in all our networks is at the range of 730 terabytes. This is a number that I calculated yesterday night, so it should be accurate and current. And a big challenge for our IT operation team is the growth in media. So whenever somebody uploads a picture, that's the biggest amount of data he adds to an item on Shpock, and there we see a growth of at least 1.6 terabytes per week. And if you think about databases, sharding, replication, this is a big effort to actually do this. All right, so now you know what we're doing. You know how the app looks like. You have an idea about what we do in the backend. I would like to share now with you how we achieve this. And there is 3 important areas, very important scopes. You need not only like scalable infrastructure, you need also a scalable team. You need a scalable process. And of course, this was the first thing, you need scalable tools. If you skip one of this, at least you won't scale. And now I will tell you a bit more in detail what I mean for each of these points. So on the team, we noticed that it makes totally sense to quickly onboard new team members. This sounds totally obvious, but you need a process for this. Our process allows us to have a developer ready to develop not only within a week or so. No, it is on the first day he is ready. So he receives his machine or her machine and is fully equipped with all the tools. And next day he gets a task at latest and has his first deployment. And I think it's important for every developer to have an impact on the company's success. And this only works if you actually apply change, and in this case, change code and get it deployed. Also, we have noticed, although this took quite long for us to understand, that access to data is important. So the development environment behaves completely different from what you see in production. Although, even if you set it up the same way, there's still this factor of traffic and users. So without this insight, it is usually difficult for developers to understand whether their architecture, whether their thoughts on scalability actually work. So our approach to this is we allow them to look at it. We have Kibana dashboards with Elasticsearch, with an Elasticsearch cluster below that takes events from not only the API, but also from the website, from all different servers. We collect metrics, and by this, each developer can basically check every time after he changed something, after they changed something, I'm sorry, whether it causes an issue in production. For example, response time could go up, or some errors appear. And this way you can quickly react to this. You don't need like another team looking at this, reporting it, trying to interpret this. No, the developer has the best idea of what's going on. With this, we also try to transfer ownership. I'm not sure why I need a timer. I have my Mac to remind me. All right, so ownership. We have small divisions of maximum 4 people in the development teams. This allows us to share tasks and features with each one individually. And people are asked to develop ownership. So it's not just task assignment, no, it's this is your task, please try to make it work. Then we share knowledge. This also sounds obvious, but also you need something defined here. We have bi-weekly tech talks where we present important topics. If somebody thinks this is something I would like to share with my team, with another team, then they can do it there. Of course, we do pull request reviews, not in big groups, but in small groups, so not to waste time for somebody. And we also don't look at code style in pull request reviews. We have tools for that. We look at concepts and how people develop their feature. And we try to keep the structure as minimal as possible. So it doesn't make sense to ask for change or an option to change something, and a week later you get a response. So we try to empower our teams to understand their purpose and their responsibility, and therefore they can decide as much as possible on their own, especially in the tech area. Now, next, how to scale a process. You need an adjustable workflow. We have one workflow together with the product team who is developing the apps and the features for the apps. This is like a 10-day cycle with clear days for development, clear days for testing, clear days for cleanup and refactoring. But we also do a Kanban with other teams. So we don't have just one thing that we apply and hope that works. No, we adjust to the requirement that we need. The direct communication is something that's especially important for me. I really don't like that if if I can't approach somebody and just ask him what's going on and how we do this. So we have introduced something called CTM, which is a cross-team meeting. 5 minutes, get together different team members from different teams and align on what is important. We have continuous development, so you can imagine we use GitHub and more in specific Git flow-based development. We refactor our code when needed, so we don't have like 1 month just for refactoring. We do this on the go. And whenever we switch to a new framework, we introduce it endpoint by endpoint or service by service, so that we never get into a situation where we are locked just because we have to refactor everything or introduce something new. Then also, we're not doing any maintenance windows. I think in the last 6 years, we had 1 dedicated maintenance window, and this was when we had to do a MongoDB upgrade, and that required us to actually stop and start again every single Mongo instance, and for us, you can imagine these are dozens. And then at that time we had to do this. I remember being there at 4 in the morning, super nervous, more nervous than today, which is interesting, and taking down our system. And 15 minutes later, everything was up and running again. Apart from that, we never had to do any maintenance, as we think the user just don't care, right? Maintenance is nothing that they would like to see. We apply quick iterations. So if we have a big feature, like recently the integration of PayPal, we split it into chunks so that we still can follow our development workflow and deliver within 10, 15 days a release, already packed with hidden features that we then just turn on later. And also, I'm very proud of that, we have a clear handling of bugs. We have 1 channel in our Slack that is dedicated for bugs, and everybody in the company is invited to report bugs there. Even if it's not a bug, we report back what we're going to do with that. And we aim for like in the same day fixing of that bug. All right, so tools. As I said, we have 4 people in the IT ops team who manage those 600 servers. That's amazing. Just think about it. Especially if you like I joined a company where we had 6 servers, and I was logging into every of these servers every day when we did a deployment, when we had 1 server for the API. And now this is of course not necessary anymore because it would simply not be possible. So what they do is they're using tools like Salt and Senso to get a grasp of, an idea about what's going on and to maintain those servers. About 10 database clusters and a few more for search. We aim for immediate feedback. This is what I mentioned already. We have Senso that is getting events from our servers and services. And there we have 320 checks that escalate for PagerDuty. So I'm still doing on-call every, I'd say, 2 weeks. And then I receive alerts from the system and try to either handle it on my own or find some help in my team. With Fabric, we track our crash rate. So we are very proud to have a 99.9 crash-free session rate in our apps, so iOS and Android. And on the last point, on the last 2 points, before you decide on a tool, define the need. So it doesn't make sense just to follow the most popular tool and say, yeah, we have this and we're also doing this. No, you have to define your need and then select a tool. Sometimes the tool is not a good fit and you might need 2 tools, but it's important that you know for what you're using this. And 1 tool, 1 purpose. We have a very strong API. I wouldn't say it's a monolith, but still it has a very central role in that. And whenever it's necessary, then we introduce new services in different languages to facilitate our requirement. All right. So I have to hurry up a bit. Now, I would like also to share examples on this. So on the, maybe I picked the biggest one. So on the process, the first statement, I will try to do this tonight with Node.js. This is what my dear friend Nem, who developed the first Android and iOS apps for Shpock, said when he introduced the 4th generation of our media delivery. So why was this at all necessary? We needed delivery of media from the first day. So we didn't go out and did a big survey on what is the best thing. No, we used, I think, Apache, PHP, and ImageMagick to render those things. And that worked great until we had a few thousand items and multiplied by whatever, 3,000 images, and we noticed, oops, those servers are just scaling images to the size that we need. So we went through a few iterations, later with Nginx and with Perl. Perl worked actually quite good. And then Nem introduced Node.js, a Node.js service to do this. Right now we are also hosting this in Google Cloud, and together with Cloudflare, we are able to handle that load pretty well. Then, guys, we need to do this now. My team leads in the backend team, Mitzi and Victor, went to some conference in Riga, I'd say 3 years ago. And they came back, stood in front of me and said, we need to change this. We have to do this now. Our API won't scale. And then we introduced a new framework. And as I said, this did not happen like in a 3-month operation. No, it happened while we were still in developing new features. But it showed how ambitious and how eager the team is to change things. Then we can do this better on the tools. So we started with Mixpanel to collect user profile data, so that we can send push notifications and stuff like that. Mixpanel is great, but it's also expensive. So it's good to get something started, but it's also expensive, especially if you don't have the money when you are in the startup phase. So Klaus, the guy that you actually might still remember from last year, said, he didn't say anything actually, he just started, and 1 month later, he said, well, Mixpanel is cool, but I somehow understood what you're doing, and I think what I did here can help us the same way with zero cost. And this is the CRM tool that was built based on his big achievement. Gain growth through trust. 2014, we introduced Elasticsearch. We wanted to play around with that, so it was not that we did not deploy it as a main service, as major service for our backend, but we started to collect log events through an elk stack. And this was so amazing. Before that, we had to look into server logs, so connecting to the shell of the server and grabbing through the logs of that server. You can imagine if you have maybe a few servers that work still, but as soon as you have multiple servers with request distribution, this is just a mess. There's only assumptions, nothing else. And with that elk stack, we were able to understand our application better. We noticed patterns of usage that we would not have at all expected. And by giving the trust to the team to use that data for their own development, they grew. They were not anymore developers. They got super identified with the product and the process that we applied. So one last example, I still relate a lot to my interview at Shpock. My interview, I mean really my interview here. When Kati Klausberger, one of the co-founders, told me, when she told me, and maybe later, there's a chance for you to get a team lead. And I got very emotional about that. Of course, I didn't show her because it was negotiating still. But I got pretty happy. And when I think about it, she couldn't tell. At that time, there were like 3 employees in the company, 3 team members, and a few freelancers. So she couldn't tell. But she gave the belief to me. She transferred that belief to me, and that motivation and that belief we now transfer to our team members every day through our HR team. So, attention. I was afraid, if you read like, we are hiring, most like, now the presentation is about to end. That's why there's this attention thing here, so please, attention. We currently have 32 positions open, alone 14 in the tech field. So please check that out. It's different positions. But mainly we're focusing on web QA and the backend, of course. Otherwise I would not do the talk here if it was not also about the backend. We're also looking for tech team lead positions. So if you're already experienced, if you have some knowledge in leading a team or want to get into this, please let us know. And this is what I'm really proud of. So I can relate with every of these. So I'm having a total impact on the company. There's so many different nationalities in our team. Yes, Vienna is the most livable city. We all know this. Today I had breakfast with the team. We do team trips. In 3 weeks, I think we are going to Croatia. And there's a lot of gym, table tennis, table soccer, running group activity also in the office. And last, I would like to say thank you.
Perfect timing. Very good timing. Very good. Am I on? Am I on? Am I on the mic? Yes, I am. Hello. We've got lots of questions. We have to get through these questions.
Wonderful.
There's one of the questions is wrong. Your maths is wrong. You know who you are. What parts of the architecture did you plan at the very beginning, and which did you add later?
So I sat together with Nem in one of our own single meeting room that we had, and we planned the model for an item and for a user. So this is how we started. We defined the model of our most important entities, item and user. And we were already sure to use MongoDB. This was clear from the very beginning because we had experience already in a previous project. And later we add Elasticsearch to compensate the weaknesses of MongoDB. And at one point we had Solr. This was just short. I'm very happy about this, that we got rid of this. What else? Yeah, definitely now, recently, this pusher project where we try to send all our push notifications through a dedicated service that we could also sell to another company.
Why not the cloud?
Too expensive.
Just a simple answer. Yeah, what about that? I don't know if this is a marketing question or a tech question, but how do you enter a new market? For you as a developer, as the brains behind this, what was it like going to the other countries?
Yeah, so technically it's not such a big deal. There's a few steps we have to do regarding domain registration and routing, but technically our API is totally open for any country, for any market. That's more a question on the marketing activity itself, to understand the market and to have a proper ignition there. Yeah. We have a roadmap on what to do to enter market, and if I'm not wrong, this is about like 150 steps, very detailed, from like 2 months before we enter the market to like the clear days when we do it.
Do they have a lot more countries planned?
Not at the moment.
Okay. You're going to take Alibaba on, aren't you?
We're taking the whole Asian continent, not the countries.
Okay, listen, Timo, wherever you are, 700 million requests a week is not 700 requests a minute. Get your calculator out. It's because I did it, it's 1,157 requests a second.
That makes more sense, yeah.
Yes, thank you. So that's why he needs 600 servers. Yeah. So get rid of that one. What about the front end?
Yeah, so the front end, we are a bit behind with our web client. So feature parity is not yet reached, but we have hired experts for this to do. Right now, we are working on a web solution that compensates that gap, and so.
But how much is app? Sorry, how much traffic is app and?
Clearly more traffic through apps, because this was the channels that we always pushed.
Yeah,
so basically, at older versions of the website, you couldn't do anything but just download the app. But we want to, get this a bit balanced out.
What about the payment question? You mentioned PayPal earlier on.
I'm very happy that at least someone wrote spelled Shpock wrong, because this is what usually happens.
That's autocorrect.
This is still nice. There have been misspellings that are really interesting.
It's Dr. Shpock.
Yeah. So payment, we have been. So first, all these inner purchases. I think I don't need to cover. This goes for Google and Apple. But payments between users, I'm sorry, so seller and buyer, are handled through PayPal. And there we were very happy to participate in a beta phase of PayPal marketplaces, a product that they are about to launch. And we were working together with them for weeks, for months to establish that.
Couple more. Quick. How many developers were there in the beginning, and how many are there today?
So there were 2 developers working on the first version of the app. One was me, the other one was Nem. So it was clearly pair programming. Now it's 11 backend, 7 or 8 Android, 5 iOS, and 3 or 4 QA, and 4 IT ops. So I won't go into more details now.
Okay, last question. I'm sorry. Sexy. Where are you storing the images? Yeah, where are you storing the images? Do you upload images directly there?
Yeah, so we store our images in a separate MongoDB cluster. In the beginning, it was one cluster. Wrong, because it's totally different purposes. So we moved it to our own cluster. And this is basically the source where our CDN networks are pulling from. So cached images are stored in Google Cloud storages. That's also expensive, but it pays off. And the source is stored in our MongoDB clusters.
Do you want to pick another one? No, you don't have to. We're out of time.
Those 600 servers, it's commodity hardware. So there's no virtualization. We usually have, so the standard model is like 32 to 48 gigabyte of RAM and pretty standard CPU. So I'm sure we're wasting a bit of performance there, but they're super cheap. So, and virtualization or KVM, I would not do unless you're sure that it works.
Okay, we have to finish. What does Shpock mean?
Shpock in your pocket.
Okay.
Shop in your pocket.
See, you got it wrong. Stefan Lingler, thank you very much. It was wonderful. Cheers, man.